Good evening, everyone, and welcome to what is round 8 of the Next Gen Racing Coates vs Newsham Mini Cooper Cup. Wonderful to be racing around Goodwood, this fantastic circuit that was originally built on an airfield way back in 1936. It was turned originally into an airfield. It was used for 10 years until 1946 before they decided that in fact it should be put out of service and turned into a race course. The circuit itself hasn't undergone many changes since then. In fact, the only change that's ever realistically come about to the circuit was in 1952 when the chicane was added. That is literally all the track modifications that have been made. Of course, outside of that, there's been many wonderful additions, such as the hill climb, as we all well know, a wonderful addition to the Goodwood venue, and as well as that, some wonderful historic classic racing amongst the many different cars that have fought around here. But enough from my aspect. We've also got joining us in the commentary box, as ever, Jordan. I know your opinions on this circuit, but how do you think the Mini will get on around here in terms of the racing?
I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be hard to overtake. That's the biggest thing around Goodwood, and it's a great circuit to drive on your own as a bit of a time trial and very balls to the wall circuit style. When you test the car around here, but when you race, it's a very hard track to overtake on. There's very limited options you've got. And it's the one thing I do like about this, and you know this style of me, Jack, is a very old school circuit. There's no runoff. It's just if you go off, you're flying off, a bit like Willow Springs. So yeah. I think it's going to be tight, just whether the guys can find the gaps to make the overtakes. I mean, the slipstream could play a massive part in that down the Levant Straight.
Absolutely, Jordan. The time has ticked over 8:30 though, so shall we get things cracking with qualifying?
Let's go. And we have a South African joining us tonight.
For the first time this season, a debutant, Happy Henny, has come into the lobby to join us for some fun and games around Goodwood. Not quite certain what his pace is going to be like around this very short circuit. It's only around 2 and a bit miles, I believe. So lap times are going to be quite fast as Philo gets us underway as being the first car out on circuit. But Jordan, how are the championship standards looking at the moment? Do we have any updates?
We do, because I am the master of the spreadsheet, as it were. Les is leading the way on 264, so nice gap he's got to Fourfish, who's on 242, so that's 24 points there, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you constantly finish first and second between each other most of the time, it's going to be a hard one to gather back for Fourfish, but still 5 races to go, lots of points on offer. Bruce Lee Harding has 188 over Philo's 181 in 4th. Freddie Matt has 179 with D Whitehouse 7, who's not here tonight, on 160. Snav has 118. Traumatic Dave 117. Joey Dunlop 109. Stevie Q 87. Bumpercam Bob 59. Waze 54. Dominator on 29. Mad Marshall 22. So lots of fighting in that for that third place there. At least 3 cars in that battle.
Yeah, a lot of drivers fighting over this coveted 3rd place, considering the top 2 spots look almost pretty much nailed on as Philo runs over the exit curve at Woodcote, flying over the circuit. Drivers got to be careful of the chicane as we just watch.
That's Traumatic Dave.
He clipped the ball.
Yeah, he clipped the inside wall.
And funnily enough, if you hit that chicane too hard in the minis, it will give you a time penalty just to add insult to injury. Don't know if you've spotted that. You could see Dave just gets overtaken by his friend Joey Dunlop, friend and rival. As I say that, he's found the barrier too.
Well howled around the outside though. Fair play. He's decided to take his Joker lap early.
It is a very difficult corner at turn 1 going into Madgewick. It's not going to be too tricky in this Mini though, with only 150 horsepower available to the drivers. It is completely flat around turn 1.
Ronnie Matt's gone off. That's at St Mary's.
That's a big one for Matt. Just saw that, and someone else.
I'm
I think it's Happy Henny
just going
as well,
on, just going on board with Rally Matt for that. So as we were coming down to St Mary's, so he's a little lift to make the front end bite into the right-hander, and he's just clipped the grass on the right-hand side in the entry to St Mary's, and yeah, he goes rally crossing. Probably not for the first time tonight either.
No, absolutely not, and it will be fascinating to see how the drivers get on around this circuit. As I was saying, 150 horsepower all the way up until St Mary's, the corner where Rally Matt went off the circuit, is completely flat, absolutely flat. So slipstream is going to be very big in the opening sector and beyond.
That's incredible. I just want to say this: how on earth has Traumatic Dave managed to go quicker than Philo when the start of his lap was, quite frankly, appalling? Or have they done an extra? Or is that the second lap they've done?
I'm just looking at it now. In fact, Traumatic Dave is currently 2.8 seconds clear of Bruce Lee Harden, who's in second.
And that's their first proper time lap as well.
That's their first time lap. Unless we've not. Here we go. Then four fish coming towards the line. And that's more like it. Because I was looking at that, like you, Jordan, thinking, hang on a minute. Unless they've made a mistake, surely.
Well, I think
quite a large gap.
That bases me. Everyone in third down's made a mistake because Traumatic Dave's start of the lap was not good, being off at the chicane.
No, so only four fish and Next Gen Les who were towing themselves around, and Matt's joined in the fun on that little train as well in 9th place. Happy Henny at the moment just running around in 8th currently.
I want to say he's the first non-Brit in the series this season as a stat. I know that's normally your area, but I'm looking through the list, I'm pretty certain he's the only non-Brit to enter the series.
Believe so, unless we've had an Irish driver.
I don't think we have. If he was Irish, he must have been Northern Irish.
Philo and Dave improving their 3rd and 4th respectively, only a 10th off the pace of four fish and Les, who were working together in their slipstream train, despite being very close in the championship fight, obviously, between those two currently. Les and Four Fish were saying to me after the race that they actually are kind of working together at the front of these races, despite being on opposite teams.
Well, they're on the same team.
Sorry, that's quite true.
Same team, but individual rivals, shall we say.
Yeah.
So Bruce just set fastest sector 1 as he goes into St Mary's.
He does indeed. He's right on the edge of St Mary's. You've got to use all of that exit line as much as you possibly can. Obviously, as Jordan was saying before, no real AstroTurf around this circuit. It's just grass and wall. You
see Bruce using the brakes to make the back end step into Levant. I think that is. If I get my map back up. Yep. Down the Levant straight and in towards Woodcut. Difficult double right-hander this. You've kind of got to break in a straight line and let the car roll through the first bit to pick up the apex, which tightens up for part 2 as Philo runs wide through the chicane. That's fine. You can do that by GT Sport law.
You can do, as Bruce sets a 125.7, but Traumatic Dave
throwing a spanner in the works.
He is, and Les has got quite a big advantage, but let's see what Four Fish does, because he's been towed around as Matt decides to end up in the daffodils in the corner there. See, he's come towards the line. He did set a purple sector time, did Four Fish. I'm expecting this to be quick.
0.25 off.
The only other driver in the 24s.
Just. By 0.08.
Philo's gone off at Madgwick and he's just got out of the way of Dominator 3. There's Matt, Bruce, Joey, very close together, the mid 4 I'd say, and then Dominator running around in 8th and Happy Henny not having a happy time.
No, it's a difficult circuit if you don't get on with it. I mean, you can see that he's looking to see what he can do with the Mini. So he's first time in the season. The other guys around him have had all season to get used to the way it drives. And round here, you've got to have the confidence to commit with that raw pace. And if you haven't quite worked the car out, you're not going to have the confidence to push the car as much as you probably should. Should we go on board with a lap with someone there, Jack? I'm going to say Bruce Lee as he just goes wide out of the out of chicane.
Yeah, we can do indeed. Shall I take us underway?
Go for it.
So here we go then on the lap with Bruce Lee Harding in towards Madrid Corner. This is completely flat in the minis, and wow, as I say that, off goes Bruce. He didn't get the line right and into the barriers he goes. Not the best of starts to our lap. We'll carry on nevertheless. It is flat that corner, you've just got to be
he's backed off.
Spot on the line. Has he backed off? Who else we got on?
Properly backed off.
Dominator is on a lap.
Yeah, go on board with Dominator.
So up he comes effectively through what can only be described as turn 2 and 3, but he's just sort of a little bit wide through Ford Water. On the way he goes to turn 3, will he stay flat? He then lifts off right at the end into St Mary's, down into 4th, keeps the car in 4th gear, and then he comes up towards Levant Corner, this sort of double apex turn number 4, swing that through in 3rd gear, up into 4th, and you can see he's just getting a little bit of a slipstream from Bruce Lee ahead of him. Now he's coming down Levant straight, and this is interesting, Jordan. I will point this out in a minute about what the ideal gears are around this circuit, but this is making the difference between Dominator and Les at the moment. Then he comes towards Woodkit, this difficult corner where you've got to sort of brake in a straight line, which Dominator does quite nicely actually, but arguably should carry a bit more touch of speed then into the chicane. Through he goes at 67 miles an hour practically, and he will come towards the line. It looked neat, looked tidy, but it's not an improvement.
No,
I'll tell you why, Jordan. I had a chat with the drivers beforehand, and they're saying to me, the quick guys at the front are saying that realistically every gear around this circuit should be 5th unless you've got the line wrong. That includes the chicane. They're saying the best speed you can get through the chicane is 75 mile an hour if you're lucky, otherwise you'll just run too wide.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well, the Dominator line through St Mary's was... I'm just going to call the right and the left St Mary's just as an easier chicane style analogy, but I'd say he got that a bit wrong. I mean, the line was fine, but the until he exited the right-hander, he needed... Around there you need to lift off earlier, make the front end bite, keep the car to the right hand side, and then you can launch it into the apex and you can carry a lot more speed. Whereas because he's lifted off after the corner, he's come in too wide, too tight, and that's why he's not quite got the momentum down the Levant straight.
No, exactly. Exactly, Jordan. On the final lap then, drivers coming round towards the chicane now. I think that's... Dominator's going to be the first driver to get through, followed by Philo. So I'm watching Dominator here as he comes towards the line. Looks like it's going to be close, but it's not an improvement.
Philo doesn't improve either. I think we got very limited people coming across the line. There's Bruce. He's obviously abandoned his latest attempt. Happy Henny's in the pits.
Everyone else is done.
That is everyone, yeah.
So, Next Gen Les takes pole position again. This season, it's another tally to add on to his points. There's an additional point for pole, of course, in this league. Les gets that first place. He's joined by, again, another familiar sight in the form of 4Fish. He's in 2nd. Dramatic Dave, he's in 3rd. He's sort of on his own in 3rd place. He's got 3 tenths to 4Fish in front of him and almost 3 tenths to TNR Philo's in 4th.
Stand out there, Joey Dunlop in 5th.
It's a good effort. I think that's his best qualifying of the season in terms of what he's been able to do, I believe.
Bruce a little bit further down. Obviously, he's not. I don't think Bruce has had the laps he was looking for. I don't think he really had a toe either. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do when he's got that toe, but he's going to be in the pack, so it's going to be a hard race for him.
It's going to be very tough as we go then into race number 1 around Goodwood Motor Circuit. You got the blue car of Les on the right hand side and the blue and grey one of 4Fish on the left. They are on the front row. Watch out for Traumatic Dave and Philo. We know Philo's good during the race, and look at his driver rating, it's A+. 20 minutes on the right hand side, however. Here come the numbers. And the race is live from Goodwood, and it's a relatively decent start from the front duo. Les leads as they come towards Madrid Corner. great start. Four Fish slots in behind him. Philo's being challenged into turn one by... Or rather, Philo's challenging into turn one from Traumatic Dave. He's got up the inside, move done. That looks pretty straightforward for him. Everyone else pretty much lying astern through turn one, and now the slipstreaming begins. But good start for Philo off the line.
Yeah, good stuff from Philo as he head through Ford Water. Now Four Fish having a little look at Leds. I don't know whether he's having a look or actually just trying to block the track with him. Because it's a definite tactic round here. It's just to run too wide all the way round and no one can get past you then. Oh, bit of contact through St Mary's.
Bit of contact for everyone. Rally Matt looking to be the advantage, and here comes Bruce Lee round the outside of virtually everyone. He's going to be really squeezed on the grass. He's got to be careful as they come into Levant. He's going to get pushed out, I think. And all the
gets given space.
He made. He's got enough space, but there's the space gone.
It's just about a car's width. He's still almost there. He just couldn't quite get the momentum. But these guys need to think about how they race each other, because the front three starting to get away, and if they're not careful they'll also start losing Traumatic Dave, who's just on his own without really much of a slipstream. He will get one, but Sonny Matt runs a bit wide.
This is the judgment. Oh, and Philo's hit the wall coming through the chicane. Traumatic Dave will just fly straight past that. That's what I was watching for on that opening lap, and I think Rally Matt is going to get Philo coming into Matchwick as well.
Down the inside, easy done, but Philo, very smart move, not fighting it. Loses little time, get back in that slipstream, build the momentum back. I believe Bruce is just lingering there in 7th in the Jensen Racing liveried car. And here comes Philo through Ford Water. Unusual place to overtake.
He's on the inside.
Meanwhile, sorry Jack, at the front, Four Fish has taken the lead into the right hander before St Mary's.
Yeah, he did. I was watching that on board from Philo's position. That looked quite telegraphed. Those two already a second and a half up the road from Traumatic Dave, who doing alright.
Just going back having a look at that, so out of Matchwick down to Ford Water, so he's done an identical thing to Philo. He's got down the inside at Ford Water, but obviously Les still has that momentum around the outside as they head towards St Mary's.
Rally Matt's charge for third place is gone. He's just gone off at Levant corner, just got it completely wrong on the brakes. Off he went and sailing off the road he was. He's got a lot of work to do to try and gain 2 seconds as Joey Dunlop now looks at the back of Bruce Lee, who's up to 5th as Philo runs wide.
Yeah, I think Joey needs to work here with Bruce. He's got a really good chance of getting up to Traumatic Day Philo here. I know they're on rival teams, but if you can use your rival to get to where you want to, as Les has actually re-overtaken Four Fish. I wonder if my replays have got back. No, they don't go back far enough for that.
It was another nicely just telegraphed move out of Levant corner pretty much whilst you were watching the replay. There's no harm done between the two because you can see they're just using one another to pull away from Dave, and look at the gap now, 2.3 seconds. We're only on lap 3.
This time on the outside, going into St Mary's on the right hand, couldn't quite make it work. I'd be amazed if anyone could make it work around the outside of the right hander into the left, but a very, I don't know, invisible prize can be offered.
Bruce Lee crowded Joey off the circuit. It was very much a squeeze. I think Joey had a right to sort of put his nose on the outside. He's lost a lot of time. Got to hope that Rally Matt can join him and those two can slipstream more.
Joey was there but not quite there. I'd say he wasn't really alongside there.
No, but you know, in terms of defensive driving, all the drivers have to be careful. They have to make sure they give just enough space, not entirely, just enough space to make sure they both get through.
Yeah, I mean, I know this may seem biased, but personally I feel Joey didn't really have a right to go down that one. That was always going to end that way. But Bruce has a hard task here. He's 1.1 behind Philo. And okay, that is within slipstream range around here, but it's not going to give you a strong one. So he's got a bit of work to do to catch up to his teammates. So Traumatic Davis, Four Fish, has once again through St Mary's. Let's go back, have a quick watch. This time though, having to make the lunge after Fordwall.
Yeah. Interesting overtake. But I know the pair of them will be giving each other room. You can see Les now coming towards the inside as they head towards Woodcote. This should be relatively done, providing that Les doesn't run too far off the course. On the brakes, Fourfish just lets him through, just Les trail braking. And Bruce Lee is just starting to catch the back of Philo if he can keep it up. He needs a good run out of the chicane though to make it pay.
Better line than Philo. Much better line. He was tighter to the inside wall.
However, Bruce Lee's gaining on him, so despite the line and a personal best from Bruce Lee, these two now need to work together because Dramatic Dave, I have to say, is putting in a great effort. 125.2 on that last lap, and that's without slipstream.
I'm just going back to the front, Jack, because it's pretty much like a script right now. Fourfish down the inside, heading towards St Mary's, and that'll be the move made before he even gets to the Rhinos. They don't even go side by side this time.
And I'm assuming that Les will overtake him at the approach to Woodcote.
I would assume so. That's what's scripted. But at what point does Fourfish turn around and go, "Yeah, that's big. That's a big enough gap. You're not coming through this time"?
I think with the amount of time that the drivers will spend around this circuit, they could probably spend another 5 or 6 minutes fighting, doing this, pulling away, because they've got 4 seconds now.
This time, I tell you what, Les isn't close enough this time. So you didn't get a good enough run out of Levant.
Tell you who is close though, Bruce Lee, right on the back of Philo, but using Philo's slipstream, not going for it, so they are going to work together as Philo runs wide. He's got to be careful.
The biggest thing here is Philo needs to recognise when Bruce is trying to help him and use him a little bit, because these guys don't have team communications. They normally work on headlight and indicator signals to say let's work together or something wasn't right. So and as you know, Jack, those signals can get mixed up.
Oh yeah, absolutely, they can indeed. I was just watching as you were talking, Jordan, Rally Matt coming through the chicane. He was latched onto the back of Joe Dunlop, but big slide going through the corner from the back of his car and onto the gravel trap he went, well, rather over the grass. So bit of work to do to try and catch up again. Les
is finding it hard here to re-overtake Fourfish. He hasn't managed to get him into St Mary's. He should be close enough coming out of Levant though. That does look close enough. 4 tenths, I'd say. It's definitely close enough to get him into Woodcote.
I don't think he'll go for it. I don't think he will. I think he'll sit behind and wait. And indeed he does.
He didn't actually.
It's just not planned. That certainly wasn't planned between the two of them.
So now I think the 4 tenths didn't really seem like enough then. Not really, because you'd have thought he'd still been alongside him.
Philo's past Dave. Dave's made a mistake.
Let's see if I can pick that up. Yeah, it looks like out of Levant. He's made a mistake by the looks of it through Levant, and Philo takes the place into Woodcote. Bruce a bit sideways on the entry to Woodcote, but it works. Definitely drifting the back end of that Mini.
He's looking up the inside, coming out of Madgwick corner was Dramatic Dave, rather was Bruce Lee Harden on the back of Dramatic Dave, but he's gonna look, but don't forget Dave still has a nice toe from Philo, so it's just going to work against Bruce in the meantime. But another 3 tenths.
I don't know if are these three going to work together now?
I don't think they will. I think with the gap as it stands, 6.6.
I'll tell you what, if these guys can work something out, figure it out, work together, I know they've got a 6.7 gap to Les and Fourfish, but if Les and Fourfish, which Les has now actually re-overtaken Fourfish, there is that chance, because remember, this is a 3-car train compared to a 2, which normally does give you better speed in the straight lines, because obviously one person gets that double toe.
It's a propelling mechanism effectively, and you can see all three of them taking different lines through Woodcote as they have done all the way through these laps. I'm not certain. I'm not certain, Jordan. With the gap out to 7, I think the raw speed from the 3 of them is just a touch off the pace of Fourfish and Les. It's not. I'm not as if saying they're far away by any means. Maybe a tenth or two, but a tenth or two with slipstream can easily become double that with 2 of yous working together. I don't think these 3 will. I think Dave will go for 3rd place.
Joey's had an off at Matchwick. He's kept it out of the barriers, but has allowed Rally Matt through.
He's going to have a very lonely 9 minutes 15 seconds for the rest of this race, because Dominator is
he didn't
far
keep out of the
away.
barrier. He didn't keep out of the barrier, which means he's going to take some damage on that, which will fade. Obviously, only light damage in the minis.
And indeed. Just watching Happy Henny as well in the meantime. He's getting quicker throughout the race. 128 that last lap, which might seem like a very large gap to the drivers, but realistically, Traumatic Dave was doing 25s with no slipstream, because you can see the 3 of them very close together now, coming into Woodcourt.
That's wide from Traumatic Dave. He's lucky not to clip the grass and go round it.
Really good anticipation from Bruce, because he just tapped the brakes just as he saw Traumatic Dave going wide, and just managed to avoid any big contact between the 2 as Fourfish looks to line one up, coming towards Boardwater. Should be pretty straightforward.
As per the script, to the inside at Fordwater, you'll have the inside for the right-hander before St Mary's. And Les will let him go, won't even bother to challenge that.
Straight back into the slipstream he goes. But these 3 have got the on-track action lighting up. You see Dave very wide, just going to give Bruce Lee an opportunity. To the outside, but nothing doing through Levant corner, but he's got a... It looked like he had a switchback. He's right on the back of Dave, but...
Smart move. Very, very smart move. Bruce has realised they've lost time to Philo. The gap's on 1.1. So Bruce has decided, you know what, I'm going to try and help push you down the straight. Let's try not to lose too much time. So a bit of damage limitation there.
Philo's gone wide at Woodcourt, but he hasn't.
Oh, Traumatic Dave has.
Yeah.
Almost. Again, constantly on that. Oh, Bruce is into the wall. Through the chicane.
Might just be the fight for 3rd. Unless Philo
That's
makes
an interesting
mistake.
line from Traumatic Dave.
I was gonna say that was very interesting from the Newsham driver. Not quite sure whether he wants to be a car or a lawnmower in this race, but that might have just killed the fight for 3rd now. He's going to take a mistake, I think, realistically.
I think it's not even about a mistake, is it? It's just the lines. Granted, getting the slightly wrong line is a mistake, but it's not really a mistake, if you know what I mean. Just not quite getting the line. It isn't really much of a mistake, but around here you get punished for it.
It is a very good point, Jordan, and it's down to the consistency, because the speed is evidently there from the drivers. As Les has just gone purple, sat behind Fourfish. You still can't get past him.
That's Fourfish off wide. That's into the barriers.
That's a big one.
He's just about kept out of the barriers, Fourfish. Very lucky boy, but that is 1st place out of the question.
It's done and run for Les. And that was I mean, Jordan, if you've got the replay, you can run us through it, but that looked like almost
it's caught the end of it, but I was watching it live as it happened, and all he's done, he's just hit the brakes a little late, and he's also gone in too tight into the corner. You can't go in tight into that first part. You've got to open up and let the car roll through it, and Fourfish didn't do that, which meant he just ran deep onto the grass, and the back end swapped.
Shame for Fourfish. We were having a nice setup for these last 5 minutes for that 1st position, but
anything can happen to Les.
It can. We've seen mistakes from everyone. We've seen Fourfish go off, Philo, Dave, Lee's been off. Rally Matt, Joey Dunlop, Dominator. I think the only one apart from Les who actually hasn't been off. Well, as I was about to say, that Happy Henny's been off on that last lap because he was getting quicker.
Yeah, Henny just coming through the final corner, and you can see where that confidence is in there. He's not letting the car roll through the corner. I think he's also in controller, if I'm not mistaken.
He is. I think he's on automatic gears, Jordan. You know, I think he's on automatic gears. I just saw the car shift very quickly down to first, and I think that's where he's losing a lot of his time. Just watch him as he comes through the lap. Whilst there's a little bit of a lull in the action. So he doesn't want to go completely flat through Madgwick. We'll soon see when we come into St Mary's, won't we?
Yeah, St Mary's, you want to be in 5th, possibly 4th to make the front end bite, because on Gran Turismo what you tend to do, if you're finding the front end's not quite biting on manual gears, you flick it down one and then flick it back up, just to make the front end bite. So he's through 6th. Oh.
Yeah. Ooh, it's peculiar.
I tell you what, I'm not entirely certain that's on auto.
No, that was very...
He shifted down. There was a double shift on that, and auto doesn't do that.
No, that's true.
An auto box won't double shift for you. It's because an auto box will be programmed on a game to have a safety feature in which it doesn't over rev the engine, which is why on a manual box you'll see drivers bang it down really early and use the revs to get the car slowed down.
We haven't seen it. Traumatic Dave's gone off. He's lost the position to Bruce. He's down to 5th place now, and I think he's gone off at St Mary's. He
has. I've picked up the end of the accident. It looks like St Mary's he's gone off.
Ooh, Joey Dunlop nearly joined his fellow friend off at St Mary's there, and Dominator's catching him. He's only 3.5 seconds behind now with 3 minutes to go, and I think
he's saying good times well. 1:27.4 compared to 1:31.0 for Joey. So Joey, these last 4 laps have not been the cleanest. I don't think. I think he's made a mistake on all of them.
Yeah, it's not gone to plan, has it, for Joey on these last 4 laps? Like you're saying, the gap's just creeping down, and Dominator might be thinking, "Oh, a bit of excitement towards the end of the race for him." Starting a quick scan through.
I'm just going to the front because obviously Henny's going to become a lapped car in a minute, and obviously, hopefully you'll recognise it, because obviously we don't run the flag system on this because the penalty system is not correct in the flag perspectives, shall we say. That's like a discussion for another time, but so it means it won't show Henny the blue flag because of that, but obviously he'll know that that's Les behind him, even though there are blue flags being waved on circuit, which is good to see.
Well, it's good to see that the GT Sport marshals are doing their job.
Henny
As
just
Henny hits the wall.
Good stuff from Henny.
Ideal. It's not ideal. It's not ideal, but he did the best at his circumstances, and it might just give him the last minute and a half, probably the last lap actually for the two of them. Might just give Henny an idea about what he needs to do through the corners. But turn 1, he's lost a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, that was about the best Henny could do there. Obviously, clipping the wall. Obviously, by definition, on the blue flag status, you don't have to jump off the racing line. That isn't actually.
Gone off. He's into the wall at Badgwick. Where's Bruce?
There he is in the background.
He's going to be close enough. He's got to go around the outside. He's going to have to do it the hard way.
I think he's going to get it done before St Mary's, to be honest. Yes, he is. Let's go back and have a look.
Now is the best time.
Well, he actually went off. Well, both of them went off at the chicane.
Oh, right, crazy.
Both of them ran wide at the exit of the chicane there. Bruce were actually worse off than Philo, so Philo actually extended his gap going into Madgwick. The line looks fine, just understeers off. I think he's not quite tight enough on the apex on the entry.
Do you know the worst thing, Jordan, as Les comes towards the final couple of corners, if he'd have slowed down as he was going past Philo, he'd have cleared that penalty. But Fourfish is in second.
Bruce has a penalty of 4/10 as well to get rid of.
I think
Fourfish hanging on for dear life in the background after the chicane.
Les makes it to the line, as
As
does
does
Fourfish. Bruce needs to clear that penalty, but he's not going to be able to. Not before Philo gets him. Didn't work. So Philo takes third place then. Bruce Lee is in fourth. Dramatic Dave will be kicking himself. Lap 12, that was the lap that ruined his race in terms of fighting for potentially third. Rally Matt comes home in sixth. What could have been for him, but it could put him in a nice position for the reverse grid race. Joey Dunlop seventh. Dominator 3 is in eighth. Happy Henny has already seen the checkered flag on his debut. But Les has just done what he needed to do, really, Jordan. He's driven nicely. He's avoided any mistakes. He's the only driver on the grid who hasn't made a single one.
Yet.
Don't say that now, Jordan. Here he comes then, Les, as he approaches Woodcut. See if Jordan's theories proved correct or incorrect.
Yeah, a good line that through Woodcut.
And through the chicane he goes. It's going to be first race tonight, a victory for NXTGEN Les. It's another one. He extends his championship advantage once more. Fourfish comes towards the line in second. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your race result for first round tonight.
Yeah, another 5 points to the good for Les there. So that means he's now got 27 points in the bag over Fourfish. I'm just going to save the replay and pop the results up. There you go. So obviously Les taking absolutely maximum points, 23 there. Dramatic Dave realising he made that mistake in the stream chat.
And he just saying it's been 2 years since he last drove a Mini, but he's trying to get in. He just said, what's wrong with the box of neutrals every time I downshift? So maybe he's having a few issues.
No, what that means is that he's using clutch.
Ooh.
That means he's on a H pattern, or he's using the clutch and the paddle to engage it. Because the only reason, and I've done this before because I kind of done this on GT Sport before I learned to drive. Just like, I wonder how it feels on a game. Whilst I was learning to drive, and yeah, if you don't quite get it in gear correctly, the box stays into neutral. Do you just not want to go set by host, Jack, and just save yourself the pain?
I've done it properly. It's fine. I'm gonna trust for this one final time that this will work. But I'm gonna keep the faith, although it's not allowing me to send chat messages, which is very weird.
Anyway, yeah, if you release the clutch before you've actually engaged the gear and the H pattern, the game slots it into neutral, which is probably why you've seen a lot of downshifts and low gears for Henny, where he's trying to find the gear, as it were. When all he has to do is engage the clutch again, and just bring it back into neutral and slam it back into that gear.
Bruce Lee has put a comment in the GT Sport chat saying, are you sure this will be reverse? I am convinced it will be reverse. It will work. Have faith. I know it's not gone right for 7 rounds so far this season, but this is round 8, 8th time's a charm. And I believe, and I've decided that I'd jump out, do a little bit of driving at Goodwood. I've got Dave not too far behind me.
I'm going to join you.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I certainly do not feel quick around Goodwood, it has to be said.
Actually, no, Jack, I don't enjoy. Well, I do enjoy driving. I just don't enjoy racing on it.
I enjoy driving around Goodwood, but in terms of the speed that these drivers are going at, and I believe Jordan, you're out on circuit shortly.
I'm just gone through Madwick.
Madwick Corner. You should have waited for us. We could have gone through and together.
I'll tell you what, I'll wait for you by St Mary's.
so at the moment I'm just coming through the chicane now. It was as quick as I could go on a controller. Obviously, Jordan, you're on a controller as well.
I am, and what control mechanisms are you using?
So I'm using what was classically known as the analog sticks. I've run very wide at Madgwick, that's not gone well. The analog stick, so push the right trigger, or rather the right analog stick forward for my accelerator and pull it back for the brake, and then obviously the normal left-right steering for analog, but I know you're not.
No, I'm proper pad bashing this time. I am the X and square for accelerator, brake, and D-pad for...
Here I am, Jordan. Hi, Jordan.
Well, you could have waited.
I will.
D-pad for steering and L2R2 as my gears. I'm actually running manual, which is very rare for me on a controller.
Exactly, I'm just letting Dave go past.
And you may also notice I'm running... that'd be fine because Henny's starting at the front anyway. You may also notice I'm running the exact same car as Bruce.
That is true, so got Jordan right behind me, and we'll just show everyone, really, just on that one lap, really, of just what the slipstream effect's like around this circuit. I run a little bit wide coming through an ultimate corner on. Ooh, I've just hit the chicane, as has Jordan, so it's not the end of the world.
Dominator just giving me a nice boost.
Yeah. Well, you can see the effect that this circuit has on the slipstream. You already see Jordan gaining on me at the minute. Taking as much curve as we can through Madgwick and a bit more of the grass. I've got a track penalty for that for obvious reasons.
Synopsis grass cutting services.
Yeah, I'll let Jordan go past. It's going to be quite awkward. Okay, that's even more. Okay, it's a bit more awkward than we thought it was going to be.
Oh, hello. I wasn't expecting that from Bruce.
That was a very tactical move, shall we call it, from Bruce.
Oh, I've just tapped Joey Dunlop.
Not ideal, but you can see the challenges, ladies and gentlemen, that the drivers on the controllers are facing, you know, for those that are in here on a controller. I'm trying to think, is Dom's a free on a controller?
I'm unsure, but he
might be. I may be wrong on that. I'm just coming down into the ultimate corner. I haven't got the line right at all through.
No, nor have I. I never get the line right through there. Oh my word, Joey Dunlop's just bunny hopped over a cone.
Yes. That's a lap really of Goodwood, done in an interesting way. I'll be back in a moment and then we'll get started on the race.
You might need to make sure Henny's back in the room.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to check now. Henny has said he won't be. So he won't be returning. So that is that on that front. So down to 8, unfortunately. Checking the race settings to say that room mode is now practice endurance race. The grid order has been changed to reverse grid based on previous race results. So I have done nothing wrong here. Okay.
Before you start, I'm going to bail out.
Yep, indeed. So just wait for Jordan. Out he goes. I'm going to put race start. You happy, Jordan?
Yep, I'm good to go, mate. I think Dominator is on a wheel. Through St Mary's, he ripped a load out of me because I couldn't quite get the car to turn in to the left-hander.
Yeah, I think he is on a wheel. So, all 8 of them on a wheel.
Oh no, they're not. Philo.
Oh, of course, Philo. I didn't think about Philo.
But I think he's on analog, so it's not quite as bad.
There we go, George. Off you go.
So, Dominator, Joey Dunlop, Rally Matt, Dramatic Dave, Bruce, Philo, Fourfish, and Les. Now, Fourfish has a mountain to climb there. We know he's not the best at getting through the pack, but here we go. The 3 red lights are on. We are green for Goodwood for the 2nd time tonight, and it's a good start from Dominator there. He's going to get into Madrick first. Dramatic Dave has a decent launch as well. He's going to be alongside Rally Matt going into turn number 1, as there he is. He's looking to take the move for 3rd place. Dominator leading the way. Dramatic Dave, good move into 3rd, and Bruce right on the back of Rally Matt. But these 3, if they can get past the top 2, Jack, they could have a good chance of winning this race. And as the top 2 start battling going to St Mary's, this could get very messy.
Good indeed. Joey Dunlop's been very brave around the outside. He takes the lead.
Oh.
Dominator's just cut up the inside of Traumatic Dave. Fortunately, neither of them go off the circuit. Is Traumatic Dave trying over on the outside? But here comes Matt. He's on the inside. Philo, Bruce. Oh, there's about 50 minis, Jordan, going into the corner. That's Dominator who's gone wide. He's avoided everyone just about. But that might be it for him.
Yeah, he's going to lose that slipstream very, very quickly. Bruce was in 3rd, now he's 5th. They're 3 wide down the Levant Straight, heading towards Woodcote.
Everyone is 3rd.
Oh, Philo poking his nose.
I have to say that.
Actually, this is for 2nd. As Rally Matt goes wide, Traumatic Day through. There goes Philo as well off the circuit. Side by side into chicane. That was never going to work.
I have to say, all of that came about from the front 2 fighting into turn 3. We haven't mentioned it. Joey Dunlop, great opening lap, he's off and up the road. But Traumatic Dave, out of all of them, he braked so late.
Fourfish down the inside of Philo for 3rd. He's going to make that work, and Les is going to follow through, which is not what Fourfish needs. Fourfish needs Philo to be there in between them.
He does.
For championship status.
Fourfish nevertheless taking points away from Les as it stands, but those 2 pass the gaggle in the midfield, which is what they needed. And well, yeah, I mean, I have to say, as I was making a point before, Jordan, I'm just watching Les and Fourfish. Traumatic Dave, the brave points award should go to him for that, because he was on the outside for Woodcote and just about stopped the car and managed to gain from 5th to 2nd, from 3rd to 5th to 2nd.
Oh, that's Rally Matt. He's gone absolutely flying off at Levant. That's going to put him at the back of the pack.
So that's 2 races in a row where Rally Matt's gone off at Levant. That's cost him again, and it's going to be another lonely race from the man who usually is at the front for these reverse grid races, but not so far. Traumatic Dave ripping time out of his good friend Joey Dunlop at the moment. He needs to try and get past Joey as quick as he can, because the championship leaders are on their way, and they're taking Philo with them.
Yeah. But again, this might play into the hands of Bruce as well. See, with Traumatic Dave catching Joey Dunlop, if those 2 start fighting, blocking up the track, and Fourfish Les Philo catch up, they can't do anything. It could bring the likes of Bruce into the play, even though he's not got a slipstream. If, as we know, Jack, if you clog up the track, you're going to lose time, no matter where you are.
It is, absolutely, but the interesting point to note as well is that although Joey's being caught by Traumatic Dave, Fourfish is catching him quicker than Dave is catching Joey, so I think Fourfish will catch... well, he already is there. So what does Traumatic Dave do?
We all know what Traumatic Dave's like. He's not going to give this up easily.
No, he won't indeed.
Although he's left the door wide open. That was, I'm going to say, a very soft positional give up.
Is he planning on fight? Well, yeah,
no.
There's your answer. He is.
He, on the basis of Traumatic Dave, obviously wanted to defend that. He didn't defend it.
No, he didn't defend the position the way that he would have wanted, but I don't think he's going to complain with having four fish as a nice toe for him to just lean on for a little while. Philo's still on the back of all this, just trying to sort out his penalty that he's trying to drop. And the problem is that, ooh, how wide did Traumatic Dave want to go through turn one? That was very close. Bruce, I fear, unless they start fighting soon, gotta hope he can just hang on. As Dominator 3 has retired to the... well, he's gone into the pits, he hasn't retired yet.
Also, he feels a new set of boots might do the trick. Maybe he doesn't like that tyre set.
Stick him on the intermediates. Look at the gap that four fish just absolutely clobbered out of Joey Dunlop. In fact, he's already put a second on the two behind. Dunlop's run wide. This is straightforward for four fish into the lead.
Les also threw on Dramatic Dave in the background through Levant, but good stuff from Fourfish. Now, I've worked it out that after this race, there's 92 points available to the drivers as a maximum. So, at 92? No, not 92, it's 90. 90? No, 90, 91, sorry. 91 points are available to the drivers after this race. Obviously we're definitely not going to be crowning our champion tonight, as Les looks for a move on the inside of Joey Dunlop. I think that's going to be job done. Joey Dunlop has to take a bit of penalty away from himself.
Yeah, he does. He must have just picked that up, and I'm surprised Les hasn't got a penalty, considering he put
Philo's off. In the background, Philo off at Madgwick.
And Rally Matt's going to say thank you very much.
So Philo has been pressurised from Bruce anyway. Bruce actually went down the inside, and Philo, a bit of a rub between the two. That might get brought up, but
off goes Joey Dunlop into the wall. Round he goes. Almost no, he just keeps it in a straight line, but his fight for the podium might just be over. He got it all wrong out of St Mary's. Jordan, did you get a replay?
I do have a replay showing it now. He's just straightened the steering up. He's come through St Mary's and he's straightened the steering up to open the angle of the steering, get the momentum, and he's actually opened it up too much and too late, which has meant he's actually run wide onto the grass.
Speaking of running onto the grass, Dave giving it as much as he wants as Fourfish runs over the grass himself coming out of the chicane. A lot of mistakes aplenty in this race. Bruce Lee, despite finding himself away from the gap, and rather gap from the pack, he's in fifth, and he can see back of that registration plate, which isn't quite a registration plate in this game, but you can see that Coates logo, and he's already looking for a move at Madgwick coming out of it.
Down to Ford Water. I'm surprised. Yeah, he's actually alongside. I was going to say, if he wasn't, I was going to be surprised that he didn't pull back in. Just again, extra bit of slipstream to slingshot. Doesn't need it though as they head down towards St Mary's. Joey Dunlop will look to the inside, but that's not going to be a move he can make.
No, it's not. He's just hanging on the back of Bruce Lee for the time being as they come out of St Mary's and on the brakes at Levant.
So you can say, that wasn't going to ever go on if Joey decided to make that one. But you can just see that Joey's line out of St Mary's, Jack. You see, he comes out of it quite tight and opens up the steering to try and get back onto the racing line. He doesn't just let it flow through it, which is a bit of a strange one.
It might be the confidence in the car, it might be the confidence of himself as well. Obviously, we know that
looking to the outside
corner,
though.
As he tries to go around the outside. I mean, that would have been some move, but
would have
been brave, shall we call it?
I think that's a very tough move because the second part of that second corner always tightens up as Ronnie Matt goes
very close.
The second part just tightens up, so the car's always going to drift out wide, so probably not. A switchback attempt is probably the most likely bet through there.
Dominator 3 back out on circuit, by the way, Jordan, so he's got a fresh set of boots on, whatever it was, but good to see he's just running around, and that's what you need in a car like this. It isn't the easiest to drive.
I reckon he's coming to the pits, just gone, I need the loo. He's quickly opted out for a quick 15-second loo break.
Nevertheless, Les and
Les is
Fourfish.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't just noticed Les has got ahead of Fourfish.
They were swapping positions, but as I watched the gap had just started to extend, I think Fourfish made a mistake at Madwick and then made another one at St Mary's. I think he's made two mistakes that are about 6 or 7 tenths apart. They were right on the back one.
It's cost him as well, because he's not really going to get much slipstream.
Well, he isn't going to get a slipstream, is he? At one point, it'd be very distant, but that's not going to make a difference in the game, realistically.
It very much depends on the car, I mean, and the track. So, sometimes you can get a slipstream in this game from 1.5 seconds back. It won't be a massive... Ooh, that's a bit interesting on the exit. In the background.
Wrong.
I just saw him coming out of the chicane, or Philo goes a bit wide. Loads of people.
Matt and Philo went wide. Unbelievable. That was synchronised wide in that sense, but crikey.
I must say as well, Bruce is catching Traumatic Dave at a nice rate of knots here.
It was all because of the mistake that Traumatic Dave made. It all started at Woodcote. He ran wide, and it took him so long to get back on circuit. It just completely compromised him into what you'll have seen, Jordan, through the chicane and what everyone else is viewing.
Well, even on the lap before that, Jack, lap 6, Bruce done a 125.1, Traumatic Dave a 26.1, so a second there. So, yeah, it's... Dave
hasn't had a podium this season. He's not had a podium on GT Sport. He's looking for that first one. He's still got a gap to Bruce. It's gone out a little bit since he said that. And I think, don't forget, Bruce Lee is still being harassed and harried by Joey Dunlop at the moment. So he's probably got that to think about. Probably wants to try and shake off Joey before he tags onto the back of Dave.
Joey looks to the inside again. Not really a move you're going to make from that far back, but Bruce runs a bit wide.
He's a little nudge, he can't go too wide, and sure enough he backs out of it. And Rally Matt taking his customary line through the chicane. I think they've realised that they can't pick up a penalty from doing that, so they're just... Oh no, they can, because Matt's got one.
They don't gain any time either from it, because the front wheels just start spinning. And if the front wheels are spinning, you're not going anywhere.
Philo's off at Madwick, he's done it again. And I think he might have just ended any chance realistically without a mistake of getting into the top 5, because he wasn't that far away.
It's a tough corner on a controller, that, because you can't. As soon as it's understeering, it's very hard on a controller to modulate the throttle. Then modulate the throttle, modulate the steering accurately enough to make the car grip. So unfortunately, there. Fourfish does have a penalty of 0.4, but the gap about 1.4. It used to be 1.1. So. And Bruce has managed to get away from Joey Dunlop.
Yeah, he has on this lap, so maybe a little error from Joey somewhere. Just dropping him into the clutches of Rally Matt, who's actually getting rid of his penalty quite handily. You can see he's doing it now, coming into Woodcote. It's just bringing a little bit before he runs...
As he runs wide. Through the chicane, flicking it, Scandi flick.
Completely got it wrong. Through the chicane, Dunlop
Philo actually stays on track this time. You could tell that very much a Scandinavian flick through the chicane, that from Rally Matt. Obviously, as his name suggests, his background is in rallying. And Joey Dunlop's...
Dunlop. Where's Philo? Because he might just have a little bit of a toe to use.
He should be on him into St Mary's and possibly even overtaking him, because the difference in pace will be massive. There is a difference in pace.
And you know something? I was just on board with Joey. He was actually buzzing the limiter in 4th gear, so he knew Philo was coming and let him through.
Oh, and he's almost gone off at St Mary's for good measure.
Crikey.
I'm just going to have a look back on a replay, see if I caught something. I don't think I have. Fourfish has gone off somewhere. He's now 3 seconds behind Les. Made that 4.1.
I feel somewhat sorry for Fourfish, because we've been, saying in recent races, Jordan, that he needs to get up the front, he needs to be making these decisive overtakes. And when all that scrapping was going on the opening 2-3 laps, Fourfish flew up the inside out the chicane, very decisive, got through, was in front.
Ooh, right, sorry, Rally Matt, just having another rallycross moment in the background. Don't know whether it's...
As his video as a Dunlop.
Yeah, he's managed to carve his way through the pack, but this time it's just those little mistakes now that have crept in, which is, to be honest, not expected, but not entirely surprising round here. As we've seen,
the nature of the circuit.
Well, as we've seen, everyone's made those small errors, apart from Les so far.
Again, just so far, he's got a quarter of the race to go, and there is another driver though who'll be feeling the pressure more now than anyone else. I don't want to give him a curse, but that's Dramatic Dave. We know how he's driven this season, Jordan. He's got Bruce Lee. We know how good Bruce Lee is. He's won races in GT Sport. He's a very good driver. He's got a nice 2.3 second gap to Bruce, and his laps recently, he did a personal best last time round, but that first podium is a big deal, and he's just got to clear his mind with these last, I'd say, 3, maybe 4
Oh, he's risking it through Woodcut, isn't he? He's going on that curb. He flicks it through, goes a bit wide. He's going to get away with it though.
Bruce taking a similar line, so I wonder if that's... They know where they can just push a little bit more.
Bruce not quite as wide though, because he has gained a little bit of time out of there.
Joey hit the wall through the chicane as I was saying that, but 2 seconds now, it must be on his mind, Jordan. 3 laps to go, he knows he's got a little bit of time to play with to Bruce. He can afford to lose a bit of time, but this is the thing, you slow down, you start making mistakes.
The worst thing that you can do right now, and me and you both with this, Jack, obviously having our own first set of podiums and consequently our own titles as well in those decisive title races. As I know you've been in titles that have come down to the wire on that final round, as have I. He just has to stay calm. He needs to just focus on his driving and actually not slow down.
No, that's the most important point you made there, Jordan, is if he slows down, that's when the mistakes will creep in, because he'll start thinking about every corner he's going into, and that just loses
it's not even that. You can afford, he's gone wide, gets away with it just, but it's not even about thinking corner to corner, thinking about the gap. You can afford to lose that 10th a lap or so. But it's what you tend to find with these drivers. I was going to say that I wouldn't have turned in on the grass. These drivers, and me especially, Jack, once you slow down, you relax too much, and you actually make mistakes because you're not focusing enough. And that muscle memory. I mean, 20 minutes. Even though it's a sprint race, within those first 5 minutes you get that muscle memory of where you're turning in, where you're hitting the brakes, and if you lose focus on that, you're not going to hit those muscle memory points. And
the thing is though, Jordan, he's losing time corner by corner on this lap, and I think
he's taken that scare of Woodcut badly, hasn't he? That's where it's come. It's shaking him.
And it'll take a lap to try and push himself back on. If you look at his lap times in the last 3 laps, and I know some people will be watching this.
He's only got 1 lap to do as well.
Yeah, it will be 1 lap.
It will be.
Yes,
It will be. He's got about 15 seconds to go on this lap.
I'm just wondering where Les is in the midst of all this. He might get another lap, like Les. Actually, he's that far in front. But 1 second. It's less than that now. And Bruce will have the slipstream.
Yeah. Oh, and this is the problem. He's now he's thinking. He's overthinking this now. He's overthinking it. He's looking. This is what you call
so much time, Jordan. That's too much time through turn 1. He's just set Bruce Lee up for a move up the inside, and through he goes. He was far too slow. I don't know where he went. He did it in the first race as well. He just randomly went onto the grass, and he's done it again.
I've got 3 words for you. Rear view driving.
Yeah.
He was looking behind him, not where he was going. At these sorts of stages, you've got to rely on the radar rather than your mirrors. But he's got a chance here. Out of Levant, if he can get a good launch out of Levant, he's got the slipstream into Woodcut, so
he's close enough.
But I think Bruce is going to send him to the side because this will be their final lap.
It will be. I'm just watching Les in the meantime just to see where he is, but I think he'll get round Jordan.
He should do, unless he decides to back off.
Which he
does. So Les takes the win at race 2 here at Goodwood. Fourfish will take second, and it is going to be Bruce Lee Harding who takes third on that final podium spot. Away from Traumatic Dave, a great race from him. Just couldn't quite hold his nerve at the end. Randy Matt will be 5th with Philo in 6th.
Who clears his penalty with no one behind him.
Joey Dunlop will come home in 7th. Another one of what could have been for Joey Dunlop. He just made a few too many mistakes in that race.
He did, but he led more laps than he's done before, Jordan. You know, 3 on the board, it's experience, it's what he needs, and I think that'll help him going into next season if he decides to join in the spoils on Thursday evenings and dominate a 3, another driver as well, who I think...
And interestingly, Jack, still on the lead lap. As he decides he wants to turn into the new DK going into Woodcut. Unfortunately,
I mean, it was very well held.
It was a good effort. You can drift the front wheel drive though.
No, you can't. And to be fair to him, his laps actually have been very good in the last few. He's done really well, but what a race.
Traumatic Dave not happy in the stream chat saying he's made too many mistakes. Yep, just letting that pressure slip to him a little bit too much. And as we said, Jack, those little mistakes you make around Goodwood are vastly multiplied in terms of your speed.
They are indeed. So that is it for round 8 at Goodwood. But 2 wins again.
I was going to say about Traumatic Dave, unfortunately, it's a harsh reality of motorsport. It
is unfortunate, and we did say that to keep up that momentum, you've just got to keep your speed up, and he knows that he can do it, and I think tonight will have proved to him that he can. He just has to now. Next week, when we go off to the next circuit, which Jordan will tell me in a moment, I believe it's Red Bull Ring, is it?
Red Bull Ring Short.
Short, yeah. He's going to have a very good opportunity around there. As will all of the other drivers. It's going to be good to watch, but he just needs to take the pressure that he held and the position he was in and take it to heart and say, right, I'm going to push on and do better next time. But Les is on his way, Jordan. He's been absolutely phenomenal again tonight.
Absolutely, and as for standings, he's currently now 31 points ahead of Fourfish. Now, after the second race at Red Bull Ring Short, he only needs 46 points because he'll outdo Fourfish on race wins quite significantly. So he needs 46 point gap, and he's 31 up. That's after race 2 of Red Bull Ring. If he wants that to be after race 1, he's going to need 46, 67. 68.
Realistically though, with the number of drivers that we normally have, maybe 10 or 11, that's not going to be enough, even if Fourfish finishes, which he always will, unless there's a problem in that sense. But we'll find out all the spoils next week in the Coates vs Newsham Mini Cooper Cup for round 9 at Suzuka East. I hope you enjoyed the action tonight. It was big blow up in the end around Goodwood. It was fun to watch, but nevertheless, it's goodbye from Jordan.
Goodbye.
It's bye from me, and wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one. See you soon.